Hello and welcome to the music of Supernatural. Dean may say there's no singing in Supernatural, but he was fibbing a little. There's a lot of singing and music in Supernatural. And so we're going to talk about that. And the music itself is as iconic as the show and the Impala and so many other things. We're going to talk about all that, but first let's let our wonderful panelists introduce themselves, starting with Lola.
My name is Lola Lariscy. I am a writer in Jacksonville, Florida, and I've been watching Supernatural for 21 years.
Okay, Susan?
Oh, I'm Susan Nylander. I teach English at Barstow College, which is right off historic Route 66 in the SoCal desert. So I'm kind of right in there with the show. And I've been writing about the show with my writing partner, Amanda Taylor, for quite a while now, and have done presentations on the show. And in particular, the music is what grabbed me. I think a lot of people would have said Sam and Dean grabbed them, but actually, at first for me, it was the music. I'm all about the music on the show.
Okay. Lynn?
Hi, I'm Dr. Lynn Zubernis. I'm a clinical psychologist and a professor at Westchester University. Been a fan of Supernatural from the beginning and have written a lot of books about it, 7, maybe 8, another one coming out next year. And some of my recent ones were written with the actors of Supernatural. So you can see the big impact that it has had on both the fans and the cast of Supernatural. Changed all of our lives in a lot of ways.
Okay. And I'm Gail Z. Martin, and Morgan Bryce. As Gail, I write epic and urban fantasy. As Morgan, I write urban fantasy, male paranormal romance. But all my modern day worlds are ones Sam and Dean could walk into and feel right at home. I am the newcomer here. I fell in love with the show halfway through season 11, binge watched 11 seasons in time to start season 12, and fell down the rabbit hole and haven't looked up since. So, like I said, I'm the newcomer. Now, um, let's start with what is it about the music? You said that the music grabbed you. I know that there are a lot of fans who might have been hoping Sam or Dean would grab them, but the music is good too. And
Absolutely.
and so
Well,
let's start with that. I'm going to keep going around the circle. So Lola,
okay.
when did you notice the music, and when did it start making a difference for you?
Sometimes I have to be beat on the head with things. I was recently, a week ago, diagnosed as ADHD autistic, so this might make complete sense. I was just focused on Sam and Dean and the actors, Bobby and everything. And for the first like 15 years or so, the music, I didn't even think about it. It was just there. But I think it was when I started doing these shows that I started paying attention more. And I started rewatching the show more. And I think the first thing that really, okay, I'm going to tell you what the first thing is that made me really notice the music. I love Bob Seger. And in Baby, when they start up the car and it starts playing Night Moves, and then they look at each other and they're like, back of my daddy Chevy or whatever. I'm like, yeah. And I was like, oh my God. Either they were made for that song or that song was made for them or all together. I don't know, but it's like the most perfect besides, Wayward Son. It's the second most important song, I think.
Okay, Susan.
Well, and I have to preface this by saying, I spent years, decades in broadcast radio. And so as an air talent and a music director, so I'm always kind of tuned into the music of any show. But I and I'm like you, Gail. I came into it mid between seasons 7 and 8. So I spent a whole summer catching up with the first 7 seasons. And my writing partner Mandy, I'm like, oh, you've got to watch the show with me. We've got to talk about it. And then we, two books later, we're both big fans of the show. So I always feel like I need to bring Mandy in. She's my partner in crime with the show. And in particular, the music, I did not see before this just how amazing it was that they used the music, and they use it in multiple ways. It's not just the classic rock. It's not just the in the dialogue. It's all over the dialogue, not just the rock aliases, but also the lingo, B-side, deep cuts, all of these kinds of phrases that are strictly focused on music. And so there's one in particular, and I'll talk about it as we get down later, but there's things that if you know the music, then it just opens this whole other narrative of the show. It tells you more about the show when you know the music and the lyrics and all that's surrounding it. It just brings so much more to the show, to me anyway. So
Okay.
it blew my mind when I first started watching it and I saw exactly how they did it. It was amazing.
Awesome. Lynn?
I mean, I think the music in the very first episode in the pilot, which was the first episode that I watched, is already like striking, and it just gives the show a feel to it that was different and unusual and sort of evokes that whole like Sam and Dean on the road, driving down the highways of America, Route 66. It seems like that thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, Susan, because you'll know for sure. But I think they use "Ramblin' Man" by the Allman
It,
Brothers
they
in the
did.
pilot. Yeah.
They
So that, I
did.
mean,
Yes.
that is just like the perfect song for Sam and Dean.
Mhm.
Like that's you don't even need anybody narrating what their life's about, and that sense of it's just the two of them together out there on the open road. This is a road show, and this
Yeah.
is like a microcosmic show about these two brothers. So even that, and then I think, I don't know if it's in the pilot or very early on, they used like AC/DC. So the Impala, that becomes very important. There's a sequence where I think it's Back in Black, is it's either
Yes.
that or Highway to Hell, and like Dean's driving the Impala and they're going over the roads and he's just like grinning, and that tells you so much about Dean Winchester and about his relationship with his brother, and again, the
Mhm.
two brothers on the road, just the two of them together. So I think the music was used in a brilliant way from literally the pilot episode.
Well, I was
Absolutely
also
agree.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing.
Yeah, I was also a radio DJ for a number of years. So,
Mhm. So yeah,
so
you're tuned
yeah,
into
that's
that,
over
and
here.
it.
Um, the music that they use is the music of my teenage years. I was a teen in the late 70s, early 80s, and I had those songs on vinyl when they came out. Especially, I remember Carry On My Wayward Son when it came out and how blown away I was by that song just by Kansas. And then to have it fill a whole nother mental niche with the meaning in the show with that earlier resonance, that makes it even more special. It's like memory upon memory. And when I was growing up, my dad had, it was a secondhand car to him at the time, but it was a 1967 Cadillac Eldorado, which has got to be about the same size as the Impala. It was a boat, but it had the fins, and I remember going on long road trips to, distant locations where we'd be driving late at night with the radio turned on and just the darkness out there, but we were in the Land Shark, the Land Cruiser. And so that is also evocative to me. We weren't chasing ghosts, we were going to my grandparents, but it was still the isolation of being on the highway sometimes, and not all of the big interstates were a thing back then, or we got off them to go other places. So being on those secondary highways in the dark, with just the radio in that space is
I,
very evocative.
Oh, absolutely. I was going to say I have to out myself here. I had the Leftoverture album on 8 track. So
I had the
Leftoverture,
vinyl.
the first song is Carry On Wayward Son. So I think that that's a particular, again, it's a touchstone and it was brilliant. And what I like about that, and I think people forget because from season 2 on, they used it as the final Road So Far. But in the first season, it was in the penultimate, and I've got to say penultimate, of course, in the penultimate episode of season 1. It was not in the finale. So I think they probably did that. And then I would love to have been a fly on the wall when they were making those decisions about what songs to use where, because that had to be where the light bulbs went on everybody's head when they heard the Kansas song. And so I think that would have been an interesting moment because from season 2 on, it is the very final song.
Mhm.
But in the first season, it was not.
I am just so impressed that the show was willing to pay the licensing rights to get all of that music and the original artists, not some knockoff artist. That's not my area of expertise, but I know enough about it to know that it can be very, very expensive, and that a lot of times producers cut corners with that by either using, um, you know, sound-alike bands or just omitting the music. And Kripke understood that the music was important enough to pay for, and that's that's a big thing because
Well,
everybody's got a budget.
and I'll shut up after this, but I've got to say that yes, it was probably more expensive, but that's why on the streaming services you get a generic song replacement. So, from season 2 on, they did the licensing, but season 1, you have to watch the DVDs to watch the original broadcast music. So, those great songs, Ramblin' Man, they were replaced by generic music that first season. I'm with you, Lynn. I am probably putting Jared and Jensen's kids through college with all the season 1 DVDs I bought and hand
Yeah.
out like cigars to people. I'm out proselytizing like some, Winchester gospel person going, no, you have to watch it, but you have to watch it this way because the music is that important. I have a couple more that I'm thinking of, but I'm interested to hear what Lynn and Lola also have to say about this.
Okay. Lola, is there a particular song or couple songs that just really grab you?
So many. Um, Let me see. I wrote out a huge amount. So let me see what I think would be the best one for me. Okay, in season 9, episode 23, they do Can't Find My Way Home from Blind Faith. I still cry when I hear that dang song. I cried when I was a child. I cry now, and I'm like, and that touched them because for the longest time they were in motels. They didn't have a home except for each other. I guess their home was the Impala. And think about all the times they were lost in hell or in a house with, a dog and a girlfriend. All the times they were lost and, they couldn't find their way home. But of course, at the end, they did.
And that actually is one of the few songs that they used twice because they also used that at the end of Route 666. So
Okay.
that one is used twice. There's a handful of them that get used more than once.
Okay.
So,
Susan?
mhm. Oh, well, there's a couple of things that again where I just went mind blown. That's brilliant. Oh, I'm so amazed they thought of that. Is the episode in season 5 is when we get all the horsemen, right? So the Good God, Y'all. That is a song lyric from the song War by Edwin Starr. Good God, Y'all. And who do we meet in that episode? We meet the horseman War. So, I mean, I love all of these little subtle things that, again, if you know, then you know. And there's also this great moment when, they park themselves on that bridge that got washed out, and they are walking toward the edge of it. And Dean says, and the hits just keep on coming. And that was just right out of Casey Kasem. And then
Mhm.
as soon as he says that, boom, in comes Spirit in the Sky. So, that particular, there's so many of those little moments throughout the series that just, I think that's what really made me go, this is amazing. So that's kind of, those are the moments that make me sit up and take notice.
Mhm. And those are very generational cohort kind of moments,
Mhm.
because if you were there, you get it. If not, it's hard to explain why that's a thing. I I'm not sure if Casey Kasem is still out there doing things or if he has moved on to
Oh,
the
he's moved on
He's
to the
moved
universe. He's
on.
out.
he's moved on
He's
to the DJ booth in
yes,
the sky.
Yeah.
yes, yes.
But he was such a presence. And
Yeah.
to explain, well, he was sort of like an MTV VJ, kind of, sort of, but so much more.
Oh yeah.
Again, if you were there, you get it. And that is something that is hard to pass along in the legacy of the show, because um, we won't always be here to get it.
Well, this is why Mandy and I are actually talking about doing a compendium of the music,
Mhm.
of creating
Cool.
so I would include all of that in a chapter
Liner
that,
notes.
yes, exactly. Bringing in liner notes, exactly. So,
And you know what
that's,
liner notes are.
yes, yeah, that I would explain that as well. So, yeah, but I think that's, that would make a great companion book for viewers, especially if they are
Yeah.
viewing it after the
Oh,
fact
yeah.
or they're younger, and there's just so much that'll go, and Kripke was younger too, but this is the music that he lived growing up with, I mean, he heard it growing up. So the classic rock for him was important, and the road, that just screamed the road music for him, even though he was born in 74, 75, something like that. So um he, he didn't wasn't a teenager at the time, but it was enough to make a big difference in his life, that he felt this was, belonged in the show.
Well, it wasn't
There,
coming in too late then. A lot of
no,
it was still very present, even if it
yeah,
was happening when he was a kid.
And
Lynn?
yeah,
back then, we just had a few radio stations. You didn't have,
yes,
alternative and this
yes,
and that. You just listen to the radio, and it's like, oh, they're playing Sky, Spirit in the Sky. Okay.
yep, yep,
Yeah, there's so many. I mean, sometimes there were times in Supernatural where there would be a song used and I just had to sort of sit back and say, "Oh my God, that is brilliant. That is just like literally that is a brilliant use of a brilliant song that fits
mhm,
perfectly." I have multiple examples, but I'll just pick the first one I think that came to mind was in Faith, where the Reaper is pursuing a victim like through the woods and are around the turns and she's trying to hide from him, and then you hear those first notes of Blue Oyster Cult, and like literally I heard those few notes and I was like, oh my God, they're going to play Don't Fear the Reaper. This is amazing, because of course it's a Reaper pursuing her, and it's just the pacing of it and sort of the way that he's chasing her and following her kind of matches the pace of the song. I thought that was like iconically perfect. So, so good.
And
agreed,
I think
completely
that was
agree.
the first time we saw a Reaper.
Yeah, it was.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that makes
Yeah.
it even special. It's like, in case anyone didn't know, who was watching it didn't know what it was, it's a Reaper.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
addition to Carry On and everything by Bob Seger, because I just love him, unfortunately, they didn't get a chance to use any of Billy Joel's music because I guess he is notoriously strict on licensing. But I will say that I played an awful lot of Bob Seger on repeat to get me through the roughest times in my college years. One of my other favorites that shows up in season two is House of the Rising Sun by the Animals. Um, Gorgeous song and so emotional. It just really stays with you. So that's just a favorite. And anytime those show up, it's like, ooh, wait, that's a nice little Easter egg there.
And I,
And
I
Bob
that's
Seger would, go ahead, Lola.
well, I was just gonna say that's one of the episodes I rewatched today, and I decided to look up House of the Rising Sun. I thought the animals did it first because I don't know. I didn't have the internet back then,
Way back.
but
Yeah.
no, it's at least from the 30s, like 100 years ago. But some people say that it may go back to England and like 400 years ago, depending on who you ask. And most of those
Mhm.
people are dead. Let's just be honest,
Well, no,
That's
except for the
amazing.
vampires.
and before we move on, I've got to throw out Bad Moon Rising as well by Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Yeah.
Because that is,
Yeah,
when you think about it, yes, it's a perfect supernatural song.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, back to you,
Absolutely.
Lola, for some favorites.
Mhm.
Um, the Sundown by Gordon Lightfoot. Because we rewatched fan fiction last night, me,
Hmm.
Gail, and and I just love that song. It's just got such a great groove. I don't really know what it's about, but I love it, and it just really got me in the mood for one of the best supernatural episodes.
Okay.
That was
Susan.
a lot of fun. Yeah. Well, there's a couple of things, we talked about because they use the music in so many different ways, other than just playing clips of the songs. But there's one moment in that I found again, like it's like, oh my gosh, it's so brilliant. I can't believe they did that. In one of the recaps, one of the roads so far, there's this moment when they're recapping Castiel doing the sigil in the green room, in the beautiful room, and he's creating the sigil and to blow up, get him and or to get Zechariah blown away, and they're playing an AC/DC song, and there's this moment, and the lyric says, "And I knew there was no turning back," and at that moment, Castiel hits the sigil. And so it takes that, again, it's the narrative, takes it even beyond. And I knew there was no turning back. And that's exactly what he was doing because he was turning away from heaven and he was taking the Winchester side. So that, again, I think was such a brilliant use of the music. But, they used it in song lyrics. They used it in, again, their rock star aliases and references, but they also used it in episode titles,
Mhm.
tons of episode titles. And so that's always really fun. That's how they got all the Zeppelin in, since they couldn't actually afford all of the Zeppelin. They used all the tunes, in My Time of Dying, which again, Lola, that goes back to the 30s as well. That's a really old song. Blind Willie, I think, did that one in the 20s or 30s, in My Time of Dying. And that was amazing. But they also did, so there's tons of allusions to the music, tons of references to in the dialogue, in the titles, but there's also what is when I know that we've presented on this at conferences, there's what's called diegetic and non-diegetic uses of the music. Diegetic is when you are in where the characters hear the music that you do. So you hear it on the radio or something. Non-diegetic, that's only what the audience hears. But there's this moment, and it's all hell breaks loose, part one. when that recap, The Road So Far, is Foreplay and Long Time by Boston. So you have that heavy duty organ playing going in, and that's from the outside. And then the minute Foreplay ends and we're going into Long Time, that's then you hear it on the radio, on the Impala's radio. So you're outside, it's outside, and then suddenly, as soon as Long Time kicks in, you're in the Impala and it's playing on the radio. So
Wow.
that's one of those really awesome uses of that, where they're, at first it's outside and then it's inside. So you see that a lot as well.
I love when we get proof that the creators of the show loved it as much as we have come to love it, because
Oh,
this
yeah.
attention to detail doesn't happen by accident. Lynn?
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, another example of that, I've tried to think of all the times when I exclaimed, usually in my living room to no one, because I like to watch it by myself. So usually it's me in the living room going, oh my God, oh my God, oh, that's so perfect, that's so perfect. But another one of those was Everybody Loves a Clown, which was in season 2. Um, when they use that I think it's the Chambers brothers, Time Has Come
Time.
Today, with the ticking clock for their opening recap montage. And of course it's got this like sense of foreboding and time running out. You can hear the ticking clock, the cuckoo clock, and it's when John Winchester is dying in the
Yes.
hospital after he's sold his soul to save Dean. And the brothers, Sam and Dean, you know, are in the doorway watching literally John Winchester's life tick away. And near the end of that segment, the screen kind of goes dark light, dark light, dark light in time with that rhythm and that ticking. And the end of
Yeah.
it, the singer is repeating time, and then it bleeds right into the doctor saying time of death. My God, like
Yeah.
who figured that out? That was just incredible. I can see that whole
Yeah.
sequence play out in my head, and it's largely because of the music that is really providing a lot of the narrative, a lot of the narration, and a lot of the meaning for the scene.
Absolutely. I agree with that completely. And Everybody Loves the Clown is a song title. So,
Right.
there's one of those song titles that they used for episode titles.
One of the things that also strikes me, just flipping back through, I picked a random season, season 3, is the variety of music. Yes, yes, a lot of 70s and 80s, but the types of artists, you're going from, AC/DC and Poison to Creedence Clearwater Revival and Leslie Gore and Huey Lewis in the News, and Bon Jovi and Asia, Rosemary Clooney. You've
Yes.
got such an unusual mixture of artists. You can't say, well, it's just hard rock, or well, it's even just 70s rock, or, you know, um, and they pull it off. And that's just amazing to me, the breadth of music that they used. Lola, one more time through. Give us another one.
Well, said one of my favorite episodes is Baby. I didn't rewatch that one. I thought about it, but I've seen it so many times that it's like in my head already playing. And they did a song by MIA. And I remember she came on the scene like probably 20 years ago. And this song, I think, is at least 15 years ago. It's called Bad Girls. And I watched the video. I've never seen the video. It is so not supernatural. It's actually an interesting video. I think she's trying to say something because it's in somewhere in the Middle East. Like the people have they're dressed kind of like chic, like that area. But they're doing like wheelies and stuff, and she's not in headdress. She's and there are women driving, so it's everything that women really aren't supposed to do in that period of that place in the world. But I just thought that was so interesting because it's totally different from any other song I've heard them do on Supernatural, but it's a good song.
Okay.
And the choice of Rosemary Clooney for Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. I mean, they could have used so many different ones, but hers is so warm and homey and evocative and rich. And I think it brings more to that scene. And that scene is so emotional anyway, that, that particular version is amazing. It's the same thing with The Sun Ain't Gonna Shine Anymore. The Walker Brothers had the biggest hit, but they used the Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons version in that episode with Metatron when he's puts the record on and it plays him out. But that again, the choice of the artist is very interesting because that particular version is very, very different than the Walker Brothers. The Walker Brothers is much more upbeat, and it's really, I think it's interesting, and I would love to. I want to corner some of the people who made these decisions and go, tell me. And BT Dubs, Gail, they used a lot of Billy Joel in The Boys. So,
All right.
I mean, you gotta give it to Billy Joel and Kripke for using him in The Boys.
Cool. Very cool.
The main guy was obsessed. I love Billy Joel. The main guy was obsessed with Billy Joel. I remember that. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, his Stranger album got me through through college. Lynn?
Oh, it's so hard to choose a last one. I think I just, this one I just rewatched when I was looking for some things that I thought were good music cues. So I'll just use Leonard Skinner, Simple Man, which was in season 5, Free to Be You and Me, because they use it for a montage and it's so perfect because Dean and Sam have separated and we get to see their lives in parallel set to the music. And in some ways, like they are both living a simple life, but it's completely different. Dean is still hunting, and it's like the single focus simplicity of when you're a hunter, that's what you're doing, that's all you're doing, it's all about the job. And that's paralleled scene by scene by scene with Sam, who's now out of the life and like working at a bar. And while Dean is chopping off a vampire's head and getting splattered with blood, Sam is chopping up an onion and getting splattered with onion juice. Or it's thing by thing by thing, and both of them are living a simple life, but it's so incredibly different. And then it's that diegetic versus not diegetic thing, because near the end it transitions to Dean driving in the Impala and Simple Man is on the radio, and there's sort of a poignant moment when he looks over at the passenger seat where of course it's empty, Sam is not there, and there's that melancholy that comes in, but he's kind of carrying on. I thought that whole montage just encompassed what was going on with the two of them and the contrast, but also the melancholy that both of them not being with each other and kind of what that was costing them. So was it simple? Seemingly on the surface it was simple, but was it really simple? No, it was anything but. What again? I think I went, oh my God, what a brilliant use of that song. And I love
Yeah.
Leonard Skinner and I love that song. So perfect.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Well, one that I had to laugh when it showed up was Norman Greenbaum's Spirit in the Sky, because
Mhm.
that's kind of such a fun, upbeat sort of song. Yes, it's talking about death, but it's kind of bouncy and happy. And
Mhm.
to throw that into Supernatural, which has so many darker moments and really does confront death, life, God, heaven, hell, Satan, I had to laugh because it was just irreverent, and that's perfect for the show. Well, folks, I think we probably should schedule another one of these because we've only scratched the surface, but we're almost
Oh,
out of
yeah.
time. So let me go around one more time and have you say where people can find you online. And if you have a new, recent, or upcoming book, please tell us about it. Lola?
Well, my name's Lola Lariscy. I'm a writer. You can find me all kinds of places. I'm on Smashwords, which actually feeds to a lot of different places. And I got an email about there being sales, so I signed up for the sale. So there's a sale. Please buy from there because they're charging me money now every month to do it. You can find me all over the internet. My little tagline is, you can Google Lola Lariscy. There's me and a bunch of dead old ladies, and so far I'm above ground, but One day I won't be, and I'll be the long list of long gone Lola Lariscy.
Okay. Susan.
Well, I'm really not, I don't have a big social media presence at all. Um, but Death and Supernatural came out a few years ago, and our latest just came out, Women in Supernatural Critical Essays, and these are both available through McFarland Publishing and Amazon, and you can, online booksellers, wherever you want to find good books. So we just came out with that one, and we're so proud of it. So many good essays in that book about all the women in front of and behind the scenes. And we have one in particular I've got to sing the praises of. We had some contributor write about Hillywood and the parodies, and it was amazing. She does a great job with that essay. So if you haven't had a chance to read the book yet, please grab a copy of Women in Supernatural Critical Essays. We'd love that.
Awesome. Thank you. Lynn?
You can find me on all social media at FangasmSPN. You can find the two books that I wrote with the actors of the show, Family Don't End with Blood, and there'll be Peace When You Are Done at the website peacewhenyouaredone.com, or you can find any of them on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or wherever books are sold online or in bookstores. I do have a new book coming out in 2027 called TV Matters Supernatural, for a book series about the most influential series in all of history, which I think we can all agree Supernatural belongs in there. So Erin Giannini and I did the volume on Supernatural. And yes, we do touch on the music, of course.
Very cool. I'm pretty easy to find online at gailzmartin.com, morganbryce.com. If you find those and if you spell them right, you'll find me on all the major social media sites. Um, my latest book as Gail Z. Martin was Sinistrom, which is about two private detectives in Pittsburgh hunting down paranormal problems. And then my most recent Morgan Bryce is Necessities, which is about fox shifters and wolf shifters in the Adirondacks. So, thank you so much for being with us tonight, and thanks to all of you for watching and listening. There will be more Supernatural on Continual, so we'll see you online.